Hello again, I'm Robert Fithen with some more recent vinyl finds, this time a little more in the rock arena, like the band Dust. Picked up their second album, Heart Attack, recently for a great price, like about $5. And it's probably about a $40 album, something like that. This is the one that is on the pink label, Kama Sutra label. So yeah, great to get this because I'd gotten this one in that huge collection that I did a video for way back months and months ago. Got this one, reviewed it and everything, sounds great. And now my collection is complete because they only have 2 albums. This one not quite as in the proto-metal vein as the first one. This was more straight-ahead rock. You know, they got that basic classic rock sound to a lot of it. It is harder rock, but it's not quite got those metal kind of leanings that the first one had. But still a great album. Still really enjoyed this. Of course, Dust featuring Richie Weiss on lead vocals, and Kenny Kerner is the producer here. Now those 2 guys, you know, these guys, Dust only had 2 albums, so they're done by like 1971. So those 2 guys go on to actually produce the first 2 Kiss albums. And so you can blame them for the sonic lack of quality. Everybody hates the quality of the audio of the first 2 Kiss albums, although I really like the first Kiss album, the way it sounds and everything. But, well, for one, the guys from Kiss don't actually like the way that sounds. And the second one, the Hotter Than Hell, is just an audio mess. But, you know, great songs and everything, but just the quality. So you can blame those 2 guys is basically what I'm saying. And then the drummer here is Mark Bell. If you're a Ramones fan, you probably recognize that name. That's Marky Ramone, basically. Before he did that, he drummed for Richard Hell and the Voidoids. Blank Generation album. I have got to get this on vinyl at one point. At some point, I've got to. For no other reason, to have the original cover and not this pink border dude with the glasses and this looks like a new wave album. I don't know why they changed that, but yeah, I gotta get the Blank Generation original cover at one point. But anyway, the band Dust. Yeah, like I said, hard rock and sound here, not quite as metal as the first one, but they even bring in a little few country elements on here. They got the dobro going on. They got, I think, a steel guitar in a couple of songs. How Many Horses would be one of those, you know, with the title like that, right? So a great listen. Pick this up if you can find this. And Ivory's one of the great tracks on here. An instrumental. Just rocks all the way through. Now, am I saying that the instrumental is one of the best tracks on here because I'm not quite fond of the lead vocals? I could be saying that. Yes, I could very well be saying that. But that is the band Dust on here. So check that out. Also, filling in holes in my collection with Cheap Trick and In Color. Now, in the 2 videos back, you know, before the St. Louis one where I went all over the various locations of St. Louis talking about garage bands and psych rock bands from St. Louis and put all that work into that video that only a few people watched. Yeah, before that one, I talked about how I went to an estate sale and picked up Cheap Trick's Heaven Tonight and blew me away. Before that, I had like the first album, I had at Budokan, I had the, you know, Greatest Hits and Dream Police. And I thought, you know, that's about all the Cheap Trick I need. I think the first album's pretty good. You can definitely tell that they're more of a live band at that point. At Budokan, obviously, the live album, that's great. But I have had this Greatest Hits since it came out, and, you know, it starts off with a cover of Magical Mystery Tour, seemingly out of nowhere. Ain't That a Shame cover, and Don't Be Cruel cover, I think, is on here. So I'm thinking, you know what, I'm probably pretty good with this. I'm not, this is okay. Dream Police is pretty good. I've heard like one of their later 80s albums, a friend had that. I think it's Next Position, Please. It was okay, I guess. But I figured, you know, I got all the Cheap Trick I need, probably. You know, I got the hits right here, all the great songs like Surrender and Dream Police and you know, She's Tight and I Want You to Want Me Live and all that. But then I got Heaven Tonight and was like blown away by the whole album. It was like, man, I've been missing out for decades on Cheap Trick. This is a great album. And a lot of people in the comments put, you got to get In Color. You don't have In Color, you got to get In Color. That's great too. And then it was like fate. Into the record store comes a great copy of In Color from Cheap Trick. So now I have it. And also, it was mentioned that they have this thing of where they put the 2 guys that look like rock stars on the front cover and the 2 guys that don't on back covers. That's kind of a motif. And I never noticed that before. But yeah, that's one of their things. But yeah, Cheap Trick and In Color. This is not as hard of a rock album as Heaven Tonight. It is definitely more of a power pop kind of thing going on here, but it's still pretty good. It's not as good as Heaven Tonight, but it's a pretty good album. This has the original studio version of I Want You to Want Me, which I had heard before. It sounds different than the live one, pretty much. It sounds like a power pop song. It's even got a little piano tingling around in there. It's really boppy, and this album has hand claps. This album has snaps in it. So this is more of a power pop thing. Southern Girls is probably the other big song on here besides I Want You to Want Me. But most people just know I Want You to Want Me, of course, in the live version. But Clock Strikes 10 is excellent. Of course, that's on at Budokan as well. But I'm really glad to finally have the studio version of that, as well as You're All Talk. That's excellent as well. So 4-star album here. Heaven Tonight, a 5-star album. So up next is Alice Cooper. I got a 1980 version of Alice Cooper, as it says right there on the cover. Flush the Fashion. Now this is apparently quite the divisive album. Some people does anyone like this? I know a lot of people do not like this, apparently. And I checked this out, and I actually really like this album. I think I'm in the minority, though. It's basically, Alice Cooper 80, and he is trying to sound like 80. He is definitely going new wave in this. He's trying to keep up with the times. He had just come out of, the alcohol rehabilitation center, and trying to relaunch his career. I think Lace and Whiskey was before this. He had put out, Goes to Hell, and a couple other albums. They kind of did okay, I guess. From the Inside, that was another one. That album's just kind of okay, but I really like this. It sounds like you're just cruising down, the boulevard in the movie Valley Girl or Last American Virgin or something, and you're checking out this new artist named Alice Cooper. If you like the Cars, you'll like this album. As a matter of fact, I found out this is actually produced after I already made that comparison. Like, this sounds like a Cars album. Found out it's actually produced by Roy Thomas Baker, who produced the early Cars albums and also produced, Queen and Journey and Head Games for Foreigner and Starcastle. He produced Starcastle albums, a band that I mentioned in my previous video. Did I tell you about this? Where I went all over St. Louis to all the different locations, including the Chuck Berry statue and the Arch and all that, and talked about St. Louis garage rock and psych rock. Yeah. Did that video, my least viewed video of recent times. So let this, I don't know if I've mentioned that or not, let this be a lesson to all the people that are making vinyl community videos and other kinds of videos talking about, oh, I need to work on my production skills. Oh, I should have a big intro for my video. I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do that. Let this be a lesson. The more work you put into a video, the fewer people that are going to watch it. Anyway, back to Alice Cooper, Flush the Fashion. This is hilarious in parts. The music is great. It's total new wave type of stuff. Look at that cover. Look at that picture on the cover. Same thing going on the inner sleeve here, which includes the lyrics. But yeah, it starts off with a cover version of the Music Machines' Talk Talk. So right now we're already doing like an update 80s thing to throwing back to a 60s band. The single off this was We're All Clones, which I definitely heard that before. And I thought that was pretty good. It's no reason to have all that negativity about that song. And the rest of the album, if you've heard the Clones song, it kind of all sounds similar to that. Leather Boots is kind of like a real fast rockabilly type thing, but done as an 80s band would do rockabilly. And the song on here, Aspirin Damage, all about the dangers of doing too much aspirin. That has definitely got to be tongue-in-cheek from Alice Cooper. Model Citizens, funny. The best song, the standout is Dance Yourself to Death. That's the one where, again, he's still got the Alice Cooper sense of humor. He's embarrassed by his parents who smell like weed, and they're going out dancing all the time. Mom's hair's green. They're hiding Quaaludes in the boots, or as he calls them, Quaaludes. And they're just embarrassing him as their son, and he can't even, his social standing is in jeopardy. Very funny stuff there, and yeah, just if taken in the right spirit, this is just a very, very fun album. And again, with the 80s kind of sound, early 80s, like a Devo Cars type thing going on here. Not a lot of sense though. I don't want to give that impression, but yeah, Flush the Fashion. If you see this for cheap, which it usually is, definitely pick this up or stream it or something. See what you think about that. I would love to hear what you think about Alice Cooper's Flush the Fashion, because like I said, I don't think this was well received when it was out. Which, you know, when an artist changes up their sound and tries to go with the times, a lot of times people are like, yeah, right, you're just trying to bandwagon onto something. But I think he's one of the few that actually, I think, pulls it off. I think he pulled it off. Also recently picked up Bob Seger and The Last Heard Heavy Music, the complete cameo recordings. And this originally came out in, I think, 2018, and I did not get it at the time. I was very upset because I had spent years and years and years trying to collect all of the Bob Seger and The Last Heard singles, because that's the only way you could get them at the time. And at cheap prices, too. That's the way I wanted to get them, of course. And finally got the last one. Chain Smokin' was the one that was hardest to get. And finally got it, and it was like a month later they announced, oh, they're coming out with a record that has all of them together. And a CD and streaming and everything. So everybody can have these now. It's like, so it took me 6 years to finally come around and bring myself to purchase this album. But yeah, great that they've compiled all these together. Third Man Recordings did this, so they sound pretty much just like the singles. And the record is a little bit, it's got a few like clicks going on in it, little clicky kind of going on. It kind of got a couple of pops in it even, which is kind of surprising for a Third Man record. But yeah, 10 songs on here, basically 5 singles, A and B sides. Heavy Music is probably the most popular on here because that's the one that he did live on Live Bullet. Heavy Music! That's on here, part 1 and part 2. And East Side Story, that's another great garage rocker. Chain Smokin's kind of silly. It's all about how, oh my God, I got to have another cigarette. Oh, I need that cigarette. Persecution Smith is definitely a song for the times. Vagrant Winter is pretty garage rocking as well. So side 1 is pretty solid. A lot of, you know, it's Bob Seger, and the last heard, it's Bob Seger in his garage rock days, basically. And speaking of garage rock, I just did a video all about St. Louis garage rock. Okay, I won't go into that again. But side 2, it's kind of hit or miss. Very few, the tender, soulful ballad from the young Bob Seger at that time. And then Florida Time sounds like surf rock. They're trying to do like a Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, Ronnie and the Daytonas type of thing. They're not doing Dick Dale. It's not that kind of surf rock. It's more of, like I said, like a Jan and Dean type of thing. They're all headed to Florida, all the way from Detroit. So that's quite a car ride there. Sock It To Me Santa. That's probably the second most popular song on here. That's the Christmas song, basically doing a little, Mitch Ryder type thing. Detroit Wheels, sock it to me, baby, but they're going to sock it to me, Santa. Give me a bike, and you know what I like. Sock it to me, Santa. Oh. Yeah, so then you get a couple of instrumentals, which were the B-sides of Heavy Music, and East Side Sound now is the instrumental of East Side Story. So a great collection, not very long at all, because it's basically, 545s, both sides, so from the 60s. So not a long album, but great to finally have all these compiled, and they sound terrific. Like I said, nice inner sleeve here with nice liner notes all about the early origins of Bob Seger before the Silver Bullet Band was formed, back in the days of Bob Seger and the Last Heard. So finally glad to get over my, my ire of this being released right after I finally complete my cameo Bob Seger and the Last Heard singles collection. But finally faced up and got this record. So, glad I did. I also picked up Atomic Rooster's third album, In Hearing of Atomic Rooster. I've been looking for this for a long time. Listen to that. That's how minty this is. This is in excellent condition. This is, like I said, their third album. It's 1971, and this is right when this sound kind of starts to fade out. It's got some really, I think it can be best described as groovy organ. Got the groovy organ in there, a little bit of fuzz guitar even. Like I said, 1971, so those sounds are about to go away. Nice gatefold there. And the cover with the elderly lady and the hearing thing there. But yeah, this is a great 1971, a kind of lighter side of Atomic Rooster, but the sound on this is stellar, and it is a white label promo. So there's a little extra bonus for the people that are into those. But yeah, nice inner sleeve too. I've never seen this Elektra inner sleeve. With all the bands listed here on the left. Pretty cool. But yeah, this is different than the UK version. This actually has the single Devil's Answer in the second version of that on here, whereas the UK version does not. And that's actually my least favorite track on here. So again, with the single being my least favorite song. But yeah, a couple of great instrumentals on here, the rock, and A Spoonful of Bromide helps pulse rate go down. That's a great title no matter what the song sounds like. But yeah, nice stuff on here. And like I said, sound is stellar, so it sounds like an Atomic Rooster album should sound, unlike that other one that where it's just Atomic Rooster self-titled, where I got the reissue of that and it sounds pretty bad. This is the way an album should sound, so definitely going to try to get an original of that self-titled one. But this one, glad I picked that up. And yeah, if you, it's listed under like a prog rock thing. I don't think it sounds too prog rock. Like I said, it sounds more like just a groovy kind of thing going on, to use a word from the times. And finally, I want to save this one for last because it's just a cheap heat here. The Fabulous Thunderbirds and Tough Enough. This was a song I used to hear all the time on the radio in the 80s and seen the video all the time on MTV, and I thought it was okay. Just like the follow-up, the cover of Sam and Dave's Wrap It Up. It's all right. This is a really fun album, though. I've kind of overlooked the Fabulous Thunderbirds just because they've kind of flown under the radar. They've just kind of always been there, but never really blew me away or anything. But I checked this out because I got this for super cheap. This was only a couple bucks, and in great condition, too. And it's a fun album. It's a fun blues rock 80s album. Nothing too mind-blowing, nothing pretentious. They don't have big, long jams. They don't try to, impress you too much with their playing or the singing. It's just a fun blues rock 80s album. And tracks on here, like I said, Tough Enough and Wrap It Up were the singles. But it also has a track on here called Why Get Up, where they keep repeating that over and over. And it sounds like they're saying wipe it up. Wipe it up. Wipe it up. But yeah, I'm glad I finally picked this up because I'd never had this before. Like I said, just knew the two songs. Never really cared enough to get the tape when it was out or whatever, but picked this up for super cheap. Thought, all right, I'll check out the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and it's a really decent listen. So if you see this somewhere for $1 or $2 or $3 or $4, don't pass this up. This is a nice album. Glad I can finally add this to my collection. Every song on here is just decent listen, great listen. The album tracks, they're all stand-up songs. So don't pass up on the Fabulous T-Birds like I did for so many years. And that's going to wrap it up. Just some vinyl finds that I've recently picked up that I just haven't put in videos lately. Just thought I'd do all of the rock ones together like I did the funk ones in the couple videos back. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought of that Alice Cooper Flush the Fashion. If you've ever heard that, I'd be really interested to hear your opinion on that. So, or on any of these, actually. Once again, I'm Robert Fitton. Thanks so much to the vinyl community for all the great videos that keep coming out. I'm still watching them, still keeping it alive, and thank you so much for watching. And hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.